So it's always been the topic of a massive debate, and after the ending to Usyk Dubious 2 the other day, it's gone and sparked up all over again.
You could see the referee quite clearly was in front of him. 6, 7. You've got to be up. You've got to be standing up and at least attempting to get onto your feet and convince the referee. Tell the referee you want to carry on fighting. This is an undisputed heavyweight title fight. He may never get this opportunity again. Why the fuck would you sit it out?
When you say the first 2 shots in the fight that went to the chin, then he quit, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, he just folded, he just quit. I mean, like, in a way, though, not quit like walking out the ring. Quit off like, you know what, I'm just going to try and survive. Do you understand? He didn't actually bite his gumshoe and just go for the fight.
The real Daniel doesn't want to fight. But when you've had on 3 separate occasions now a moment of recollection and you sit there and you go, I'm hurt, I'm down. He's had enough. In my opinion, that's the attitude and that's the mentality of a guy that when the going gets tough, he doesn't want to fight.
Now, a few years back, I was quite entertained by Ohara Davies in the early part of his career. I mean, in the end, he said some unsavoury things and made himself look like a bit of a fucking bellend. However, 6 months before that, I'd already stopped being a fan the day he did this.
Looks for that big right again. Oh, he's got a huge shot. Right hook from Taylor. Fantastic. Speed, feet, timing. Is this his moment? Davies turns his back.
Yes, so after one moment of adversity, he said, nope, that's it, I'm done, I'll see you later. He turned his back and walked away and, well, Josh absolutely fucking pummeled him. Rightly so, but that part aside, this for me epitomises the word quit. Ohara Davies that night earned himself the label of a quitter, and understandably so. It was the unwillingness to carry on when you clearly and obviously can. A similar example, and one of the most famous, would be the unforgettable Mike Tyson versus Andrew Golota.
Excellent job, Steve.
Come on, you fuck you! You're gonna fight and you're gonna win this fight! You're gonna win this fight! You ain't quitting! You're gonna win this fight! You stay there! Stay there! Stay there!
Stop it, Andre! Stop it!
You do it!
You fucking do this!
You're gonna disgrace yourself!
Unbelievable sight here at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Golota being escorted off after he quits at the end of 2 rounds. Oh, look at that. Oh, my goodness.
So yes, the crowd went mental, the people at home who paid for it went mental, and even though he was actually a very good fighter, this extraordinary moment is probably what he's remembered for most. Well, that along with battering Riddick Bowe's bollocks, that was a bad night as well. But anyway, here is the topic of debate. Golota was in there with the formidable Mike Tyson. He was convinced he weren't going to win the fight and he'd already taken some serious punishment. It actually turned out later that he'd suffered a concussion, a fractured left cheekbone and a herniated disc, leading him to be out the ring for the next 3 years. So as much as we all consider what he did to be disgraceful, I'm just asking, in hindsight, did he make the right decision for the benefit of his own well-being, or did he have a duty to give the crowd and everyone at home sitting on the sofa a great fight regardless of how he felt? As well as that, he got paid over $2 million for that fight. I mean, was that alone a reason that he should have continued?
What do you say to the people who spent the $49.95 for the pay-per-view, the people who were rooting for you, your fans and boxing fans all over the world, at this great and grave disappointment to the sport?
Listen, boxing is a very, very difficult sport, you know.
Now, I'm not saying what Golota did was right or wrong, but I'm trying to understand what is right or wrong in the complex world of quitting. On one hand, quitting is considered the very worst thing you can do in the boxing ring, but on the other hand, quitting can be quite a sane thing to do in order to preserve the fighter's health and well-being. I mean, as we all know, UFC fighters tap out all the time in their sport. Is that the same as taking a knee or retiring on your stool in boxing? UFC fans will probably argue it's completely different because in these situations, the tapping fighter could be about to have a bone snapped or lose consciousness. Not always, but quite often. And I mean, you can't really blame people like Robert Whittaker for tapping instantly, because that Chimaev literally caved his jaw into the back of his head. Poor old Robert won't be able to fold towels for the rest of his fucking life. So then coming to Daniel, he gets a hard time from boxing fans calling him a quitter and things like the triple knee jibes. And yes, this is the third time he's chosen to not try and beat the referee's count, so you can see why he has come under some scrutiny. Mind you, there was nothing more ironic than Billy Joe Saunders giving him criticism after the Joe Joyce fight, then facing almost the exact same fate himself against Canelo.
So I'm never going to criticise a man if he was seriously injured or whatever has he done, but, you know, get carried out the ring, brother. Get carried out the ring.
And it is over. They have stopped the fight. They have stopped the fight. It is over. Canelo gets the knockout win.
So yes, again, was Billy actually right in what he said about Daniel, even though when the time came to it, he couldn't put it into practice himself? I suppose one major thing to consider in all this is that ultimately some individuals are just built differently to others, and some fighters have pain thresholds that are a lot higher as well. Take for instance Jai Opetaia breaking his jaw against Bradis and carrying on to the end.
It was not an option. I'm not getting off the stool, not finishing the fight. Didn't cross my mind. It was a goal we set, and it was something that I was going to do.
And I mean, let's have it right, we all know for a fact that Tyson Fury would have got up from that final Usyk punch 100% guaranteed, no questions asked. Not just him, but very likely people like Fabio Wardley, Joseph Parker, Chisora, even Deontay Wilder. I know I give him some stick for his record, but I'd never deny the man is tough as can be. Big respect to him for that. And talking of high pain thresholds, I don't think anyone could show me a more brutal example than what Danny Williams had to go through when he famously dislocated his shoulder and incredibly went on to win. But just before we see that absolute madness, a big shout out to today's sponsor. Yes, it's the brilliant Huel. Now, we are all double busy these days, and when you got a bowl into work early doors to appease your knobhead boss, making a healthy breakfast can actually be a bit of a chore, and instead you make do with a quick, unhealthy option that ain't gonna do you no favours. So why not kick that habit with the help of Huel, most notably their very popular Black Edition, where you can make yourself a nutritionally complete meal in just 30 seconds. And it's going to provide you with everything your body needs to function. I'm talking 40 grams of protein, essential fats, carbohydrates, fibre, vitamins and minerals as part of a balanced diet. So big up Huel, they sent me a few flavours, very nice, but I must say that strawberries and cream was the absolute daddy, and it's been a blinding replacement from the unfulfilling on-the-go lunch that I usually have. You just need 500 ml of water, chuck in a couple of scoops and then shake it like you mean it, and done. Plus it is very friendly on price, and even better with my discount code below. Oh, and by the way, you get a nice little Huel shaker with your first order. So big up Huel and the Black Edition. Now back to the vid.
It's completely gone the shoulder. I don't know whether he's looking at the corner. Jim McDonald is surely going to have to put him out. He cannot fight on now, Danny Williams. This man here is fighting for pride. He's in a no-win situation, and he will not give up. And still they clap in the corner.
Yeah, they're clapping him forward.
Oh, he's got! That's unbelievable! From Williams, and Potter is out! I don't know whether he's going to make it. That is astonishing! In goes Williams, fighting with one arm. He's hit Potter again. The referee stopped him. He's coming. Potter's got nothing left. What a turnaround! He can hardly warm up, Potter. And Williams has him down again. It's over!
Now, I've personally dislocated my shoulder, and let me tell you, it is fucking minging. Never mind winning a boxing match, I couldn't scratch me bollocks, and the tiniest bit of movement is excruciating. Oh, and big up Isaac Chamberlain for going on to win after doing the same thing. But yes, why on one hand have we got fighters with bones out of place fighting on, and on the other hand we've got fighters choosing to retire for a lot less? Well, along with the pain threshold, I suppose the difference here is that Danny and Isaac both believed that they could still go on to win the fight. So obviously mental resilience plays a major part part in all this. Clearly both men had the belief, resilience, delusion, whatever you want to call it, to never give up. But then again, here's another question. Was that actually the right thing to do, fighting on in the most dangerous sport in the world with only one arm and no defence? Yes, it paid off, and yes, it's brilliant for the entertainment of us fans. But then again, there's countless examples of fighters showing the incredible warrior spirit to never give up, and then they pay the price in the aftermath. There's obviously tragic examples in more recent times, like Eubank Jr. against Nick Blackwell, big up Nick Blackwell, but like father like son, going back to the golden eras, we can't forget the brutal Michael Watson against Eubank Sr.
He's straight up. There is a mandatory 8. No, there is not. Back he comes. I don't believe this. Watson is gone. He's looking.
Completely dead.
There's the bell. Unbelievable. Before us now. Watson still looks groggy.
Watson is really groggy here, Dave. Here we have it.
I think Watson's got to just cup his hands around his head like
he's really in trouble here. The punches because he's too tired for that.
Watson's got to go back to the bench fight and keep his hands up.
The referee's on the verge of stopping him.
So aside from the fact that his corner should have stopped him, Michael should never have come out himself for that last round, but his heart just wouldn't allow him to stay on that stool. The man was and always will be a true warrior. But in that same era as well, we had Gerald McClellan, who, as we know, literally left everything he had in the ring against Nigel Benn. However, when he took a knee that night, you've only got to listen to the commentators to hear how they felt about it.
With his head. Oh no, the crowd don't like this. Danny Manzing is screaming at the referee, make him fight on. Referee from France doesn't vote. Oh! Well, you saw that punch coming. The crowd must have seen it coming. They're on their feet. Gerald McClellan didn't see it now. He's got to get up. This is all heart is won in this fight.
He's punching
and he's going to do it. He's got to stop him, I'll tell you that now. This fella doesn't like it the way he's going down. Of course, you're not going to enjoy being hit. Count him out, isn't he? He's going to count him out.
He's quit.
He's done him. He's quit. I said to you seconds before, he's blinking heavily. I haven't seen that before.
Now, I think it was a heart problem, Reza. I'm not. The first time he went on the floor, it was the same punches that's been taken all night long, but suddenly the chin could still take the punches, but the heart could not. Down he went, head as clear as a bell, eyes as clear as a bell, nothing wrong with him.
Yes, so obviously the commentators never knew at the time, but sadly McClellan went on to be blind, hearing impaired, suffer short-term memory loss and requires the use of a wheelchair. And do you know how much he got paid for that life-changing night? A measly 54 grand. In the end, he paid the ultimate price for not actually quitting sooner. Then more present day, there's less tragic examples like Josh Warrington against Maurizio Lara.
Has really shaken up Josh Warrington, who has not looked himself. And a great shot, and down goes Warrington. Monstrous for the best featherweight in the world before this fight, and he's all over the place. And Howard Foster giving him every chance. He says, okay, that was a really bad knockdown, and Lara's on the verge here of taking Warrington out in what will be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in recent times in a British ring. Is maybe a punch or two away, and Warrington needs the bell, and he needs it now. Well, he just about gets back there, and Howard Foster, and he just doesn't look right at all, and I wonder if Lara can just take him out here. Josh Warrington fighting bravely but almost on instinct here. I wonder if the round... Now we're in the 8th, and again Warrington walks into a big left hand.
Spanish guy Ruben Ronnie was a defense of the European title.
Oh, big left hand there. He nearly went again, Warrington. He's all over the place in the 9th round, and there's so much time, and down he goes, and he won't get up from that.
Now big up Josh, he just wouldn't stop trying even though he was getting absolutely pummeled. However, and maybe this is personal opinion, but did he pay a price that night? Because to be honest, he's never really looked like the same fighter since. Again, does that make it right that he didn't quit? I mean, he certainly earned the respect from all us fans, but is that respect worth what may have damaged his career and could have been detrimental to his health? Now to be honest, I'll lay it all out here and now. I don't have a fucking clue what the answer is or if there even is one. And here's how tricky it is to decipher, because because another question is, should fighters get a hard time for quitting when they're just not good enough? Not exactly taking serious punishment, but just getting outboxed. Like for example, old Chisora's been giving Daniel a hard time saying he quit, but then was what Daniel did any worse than when he retired on his stall against Fury after 10 rounds?
It's been a sad night for Derek Chisora. He's saying, give me the gum shield. Chisora wants to fight on. Don Charles wants to pull him out. And I think he's going to do that.
I want you to finish on your feet. Yes, come out of there, yes? Okay.
It's finished.
So Chisora called it a day because there was literally nothing he could do to win that fight. I mean, okay, at first he did want to carry on, but then he was convinced to retire, as many cornermen have done to their fighters over the years. Mind you, Arturo Gatti's corner didn't decide to call it a day in a time of crisis. And talking of people built differently, let's not forget this incredible moment when he fought Mickey Ward.
What do you want me to do? My right hand. What do you want me to do? I gotta keep going. Okay.
Yes, so obviously both Mickey and Arturo were built differently. However, then compare that to Ryder versus Parker.
Well, there's a problem here. I think the corner had pulled out Zach Parker. Zach Parker beaten for the first time.
Now, unfortunately for Parker, he broke his hand early doors, but then again, I suppose a lot of fighters break their hand and carry on, like for example Andy Ruiz against Big Titty Miller or Hamza Shiraz against the Dames. Now, I remember watching that fight, and as a fan, naturally, I was fucking fuming, but ultimately, Zach knew his limitations and he decided that he just couldn't carry on with the injury. I mean, did he owe it to us, the audience, to plough on through and potentially risk permanent damage? Some would argue yes, fight on with the other hand, go out on your shield, but some would argue no. I mean, by the sounds of it, even though he is one of the toughest boxers on earth, old Tyson Fury, he as a fighter is of the notion it's better to save yourself for another day.
The facts are, young Daniel did his best against one of the greatest champions that's ever been, and it wasn't good enough. He come up short. He got put down twice. What do you want him to do? Die in the ring? There's no first place for getting battered to fucking still losing. The lad did his best. He wasn't going to win the fight. He's better off getting out of there.
I mean, don't get me wrong, classic Fury, he did say this as well.
You're now Ring Magazine #1 because Joshua was knocked off by a surprise win against Andy Ruiz. Was that his last hurrah at the top?
Listen, I believe so. I didn't like what I saw, so I believe he's finished. I believe he'll lose the rematch, regardless of where it is. As a fighter, and as someone who's been there and experienced all these highs and lows, I don't see how you can come back from a quit. When you mentally give up on yourself and you quit, which he did, then that's hard to come back from.
But yeah, it's a funny one really, because even though Tyson is saying Daniel done the right thing, we all know he would never ever quit in a ring, even if he lost a fucking limb. The man is a beast. And you know, I'm not a boxer, I don't know what it's like to be in these positions, so I'm happy to admit that I've got no say on what a boxer should or shouldn't do. But yes, to the eye test, Fury probably is right. It did look like AJ wanted a way out that night. He just didn't really make it clear enough to the ref that he wanted to carry on. No shame in it, of course. But then again, you can't exactly brand him a quitter when we'd seen his warrior spirit prior to that, having to climb off the canvas 4 times. Along with that, we've seen him climb off the canvas against Klitschko and then recently fight to the bitter end against Dubois. So the man has got an absolutely massive heart. In the end though, it all boils down to the fact that everyone has their limits. Just some more so than others. Now, of course, I'm a big fat fan of Danny Boy and I'm not digging him out for what he did that night. It just is what it is. He definitely showed enough heart against Miller, Hrgovic and Lorena for us all to go, yes, the man obviously does have a lot of spirit in there somewhere. As mentioned though, he's just got some obvious limitations as well. Limits that maybe don't quite match up to the limits of someone like Fury. I mean, as a big fat boxing fan looking on, even though it's difficult to call, I think there are a couple of things to consider in regards to this quitting argument. Like if you're still able to defend yourself, if you're still strong enough to carry on with a clear enough mind, and if you're still able to inflict damage on your opponent. If these are all still intact, then it's hard to see why someone has a reason for quitting. Did Daniel fit that description as well? Only he knows. Which is probably the smoking gun in all of this. Only the boxer really knows. But ultimately, Daniel made the decision right there and then, came to terms with the fact that he was hurt, he was drained, and he just didn't think he could win that fight. So he saw no reason to try and get up. I think we all know that there's a good chance that Daniel is very likely to do this again at some point in his career, because whether right or wrong, when things are going pear-shaped, that seems to be his mentality. He's just not as mentally resilient as someone like Usyk. But for the record, there's no real disgrace in that, because not many people in the world are. Anyway, all I know is the criticism that boxers get when they do apparently quit is never going to subside, just as Tim Tszyu found out the other day. But whether the so-called quitters have a duty to leave it all in the ring for our entertainment, I suppose that's for you to be the judge. So let me know your thoughts on it all below. I'd love to have a little read of them, and don't forget my cheeky little Huel deal. Thanks a lot. Bon voyage for now. See you soon.